Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, JEDxStitch. My name is Jessica and I'm here to talk about cross stitch today. I am trying out something new with my filming. I want to do more of a vlog style video, something with more periodic updates throughout the month. So we're just going to see how that goes. Today is January 6th. It is my daughter's first day back to school after winter break. So I am going to get some uninterrupted stitching time today, and I'm planning on stitching on Nora Corbett Taurus, which is this pattern right here. This is something I mentioned in my last floss tube video. I want to stitch Taurus and then two other zodiac girls, both Aries and Capricorn. But I want to start with this one because it looked like the simplest conversion of the three. The reason I like those three in particular is because of their big horns, and all three of them have like some fun horns on them, and they remind me a lot of tieflings, which are just a fantasy character from Dungeons and Dragons. So I am doing some conversions to make them look a little bit more like tieflings by changing the skin colors. This one's going to have blue skin, and then the other two will have red and purple skin. So I did the conversion on this and I got started on it already. This is where I'm at right now. I started this January 1st, so a little new year, new start. I'm also considering this a birthday start because my birthday is January 2nd, so I just stitched on it both of those days, and this is how far I got. I am stitching this on a 40 count Fox and Rabbit linen called Beetroot. It is the same fabric I used for my Cherry Magpie design, so this is just like the offcut, the remaining piece of back quarter that I had. It's working out well so far. I like being able to bead as I go on this. That's been a nice experience. This pattern is the finished size is 5 inches by 8.5 inches on 32 count. So on 40 count, it's even smaller, and the stitched area will fit within this 8 by 11 Q-snap. The beads themselves, I had to do a conversion on. There were, I think, 3, let me see, which 3? I think these 3 beads were originally Mill Hill size 10 beads in the pattern. So on here, it's these 3 right here. I converted those I downsized them to a size 15 bead. And then this one is already a petite bead, so it's already size 15, so I just kept that one the same. And then this final bead, it's charted as a pony bead, which is size 8. And so I changed that just to a regular Mill Hill, so size 10 Mill Hill bead. So all of them got a little downsized, except for this is a called for, this dark green bead. It's really pretty. And then the treasures, I also kept those as charted. These, if you look at the chart, they are, I think one of them's right here in the crown. And in the chart itself, there's 4 cross stitch spaces that bead takes up. It's charted so that there's 4 empty spaces for that bead to fit in. So I think it's going to work out just fine on 40 count, but we'll see. I might have to change it up if for some reason I can't fit it in that space. I think I actually left you can see the 4 spaces right there. So hopefully that treasure will fit in there. It actually looks a little big for that. I don't know. We'll see. I'll see if it works. With the beading, even though I did, downsize them, I'm still having to remove some of the beads as I go. It's just too tight on a 40 count to be able to fit all the beads in these long straights. Even in these shorter areas right here, sometimes the bead has to get removed. But it's not too difficult to do that, I don't think. Sometimes if I notice that it's getting really tight, instead of going over two linen threads with the bead, I'll skip and I'll go an extra linen thread, so it'll be a 3/3X because I do a full X through my beads. So you just kind of space it out and just gauge as you're going what's happening and if you need to make adjustments so that you can fit fit enough, but not get too crowded. I am planning on working on her, I think down here today, more of the skin and possibly into the dress. I am missing one of the DMCs. It's like a brown that goes inside the hair, which is why there's that like empty space in her hair right here. That's the missing DMC. And I think that DMC is mostly in her hair. I'm pretty sure it's in the frame, and then it might be in the dress too. So I think I'm safe if I stick to this area and maybe finishing like some of the beading over here on her horn. I haven't finished all of these beads. I'm gonna get right to that, and I will check back in once I have some progress on Taurus. All right, I am back with some progress on my Nora Corbett Taurus. Here is what it is looking like. I'm really loving stitching on this, and I love how it's turning out. Here, let me remove this from the background so you can kind of see that through the fabric. Here we go. Okay. Here is what she is looking like so far. I was able to get some beading done around the horn here. I finished that beading all on the horn. I then went down into her shoulders and started on the dress. And yeah, I was right about my missing DMC. It was, as soon as I got to the end of this metallic part, I realized this line right here of DMC is the missing DMC as well. And I don't like to fill in everything around like a 1 pixel line, because then it's very hard to fit that back in. So I waited, and the next day I was able to go to the craft store and pick up that DMC. So I've been able to make some progress on the dress and then also fill in the hair up there. And this is what she's looking like so far. I made a change to the back stitching on the face. I noticed that the nose wasn't really popping, like it wasn't showing up very well with the DMC I had chosen originally. So I just redid that with a darker DMC, and I have yet to do all the back stitching on. There's a lot of back stitching on the skin, so for her chin definition, and then also along the shoulders, so that still needs to go in. But so far so good. I was surprised here. I guess I didn't really pay attention that well to the pattern because I didn't notice that that was all charted as DMC light effects. And for my conversion, I decided I did not want to do the DMC light effects. I've heard terrible things about it, so I wasn't interested in trying it out. Instead, I had this petite treasure braid in stash and decided to use this instead. Originally, I was thinking I would do 1 strand of the treasure braid with 1 strand of floss. And I had picked out this color right here, Fool's Gold. So I was gonna do 1 strand of this, 1 strand of the treasure braid. And I tried that in this necklace section, and it was just way too thick. It's just too many strands on this 40 count fabric. So for this section, I knew that wouldn't work, and I decided instead to do the bottom leg in the Fool's Gold and then the top leg in the treasure braid. It's still these two together. It's just a lot less bulk for that section because it's all fill-in, so there's no way I was gonna be able to fit all that in if it was 2/1 or 2/2 on the 40 count. But that's where we're at. Let's see. I think I will probably go and continue on this dress down here. It's a lot of fill-in with just DMC. So like this skin went really fast compared to like the beading sections, and so I think this will go pretty fast too. But I think I want to kind of take a break for now and just switch to another project and come back to this maybe later in the month. I'm not sure. It'd be cool to finish it in January, but I don't feel like I need to do that. So I'm gonna take a break from that for a bit. One thing I wanted to mention is I misspoke in my last clip. I realized that I said the Mill Hill beads, the like regular size, I think I was saying that they were size 10, but I looked it up online and they're actually size 11 beads, so not that big of a difference, but I just wanted to mention that in case anyone was confused by that. But So that's where we're at with this. I thought it might be fun to show how I approach the conversion for this pattern. So I am going to clear off some of the space and get my iPad so I can show you how I went about putting together the conversion for this. Okay, I am back with my conversion for Taurus. This is just a spreadsheet I used initially to kind of map out, get a feel for the different colors that were in the pattern, since these patterns are black and white charted, like print copies, and it's like difficult to know which colors are going where. You can kind of tell from the front image, but I like to map it out like this, where I list first everything that is in the pattern that's called for. So all the DMC, the blends, light effects, the water lilies, and all the treasure beads, Mill Hill stuff. I will list that out first, and then I plug in the corresponding colors for the DMC. This is something that can be a little tedious, but it is helped by having something like a master list of DMC that's already pre-made. I use Lord Libiden's spreadsheet for DMC, and I'll just copy paste the different colors for the corresponding DMC into here. And I guess this step isn't really necessary, but it really helps with the later steps of converting, because you can really visualize the color groups that are going into each section of these patterns. So after I have all the called for laid out, I like to mark off things that I'm not changing. And in this case, I wasn't going to change the water lilies or some of the beads, and I had already done the conversion for the beads within my local needle workshop, so I didn't need to worry about that anymore. So that's the start of it. That's the first step. And next step I like to do is separate out the different sections of the pattern. There's distinct colors that are being used in the horns, the hair, skin, cheeks, and so forth. And for this pattern, I noticed that there's a lot of overlap within each section for certain DMCs. For instance, this 3371, it's in the hair section. It's also in the dress and in the frame. So I like to put a little O next to those colors that are overlapping sections, so they're appearing in multiple areas of the pattern. And the reason for this in this case was I was planning on making this a 1-to-1 conversion, and that just means that for every time like the symbol for 3371 comes up, I only want it to be my converted color. I don't want to have like, oh, for that symbol in the hair section use this color, and in this dress section use this color. I was aiming for a 1-to-1, just a simpler conversion, something that didn't require as much thinking process while doing the stitching, if that makes sense. So I have all my sections laid out. I go ahead and I copy paste the colors back over again, because it just helps a lot with the visualization. And my main goal with the conversion was doing the skin conversion, which would be a skin, cheeks, mouth, all had to change. So I just look at my DMC that I have. I don't have a master set yet, so I do use like a DMC card that I have to help, but it's not always the best. It's kind of difficult for me, at least, to visualize even with the card. So I do pull colors as I'm going. These are the skin colors, for instance. And I think I was doing this at night, so I was hoping that there would be more difference between these 4 shades in daylight. I think I could have done a little bit better with the skin conversion, especially between these 2 shades, making them a little bit different, a little bit more different, maybe lightening this one. There's not a lot of options for this tone of blue within the DMC catalog. So that's another like hurdle to deal with, an obstacle to deal with. You just have to work with what DMC's got in this case. So yeah, this is how I set it up. I did the skin conversion there, and then I wanted the horns to be more cool tone, kind of to match the skin a little bit better. So I did make that change as well. And because I changed like this 451 to 28, I went ahead and changed that in the dress too. I thought that tone looked just fine with the other things happening in this dress. So it wasn't a big change. It's just a very minor change, so I didn't have to deal with this 451 color at all. And yeah, that's it. I hope that helped someone. I like seeing people's process on things like this. It's just fun to know how other people do it and maybe incorporate some of their techniques into your own conversions. I am going to clear this off again, and then I want to show some of the projects that I'll be working on over the next couple days. So I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I have Beans here. He decided to join me for this little segment. He's will hopefully behave himself and not try and scratch any of my cross stitch. He likes to pounce on it sometimes. So let's see here. I have a couple projects that I have in mind for the next few days that I want to work on. One of them is a really tiny project. I want to make a little Valentine's gift for my daughter. She really likes Sanrio, Hello Kitty. Her favorite character is this little puppy. I think the name is Pom Pom Purin. Although I always want to say Pom Pom Paris, so I could be mixing that up. But this is a little guy. I noticed that it's some nice pixel art that could be translated really well into, oh, not on that, Beans, not there, not on the cross stitch. Here, let me move that for you. Okay, now you can lay down. There you go. Okay. All right, so yeah, I think that this pixel art could translate really well into a little cross-stitch charm. This is just my travel pouch for cross-stitch, so it has all my extra ords in there. So I think I'm gonna chart up this one, maybe with some little hearts, do some sort of like long elongated rectangle charm. He also has his backside here, so maybe I'll include that on the other side. My daughter would really find that hilarious, I'm sure. So I'm gonna stitch that on 36 count persimmon by Fiber on a Whim. This is just a scrap. I stitched one of the little Stardew fish on this side that I'm like kind of working on another project for that. I'm figuring out what I want to do with it still. And so this is plenty of space, I think, for that little Sanrio charm that I want to make her. So we'll have that as one project, and then the other bigger project that I have in mind that I want to stitch on is, this is a design that I made myself, and the fabric is really, I think part of it is Beans here. He's kind of creating this shadow on it, and then it's also kind of gray outside, so the fabric looks a little washed out. This is a 40 count Highland by Picture This Plus, and this is a pattern that I designed called Aviary. It's coming along. I think I definitely have put in some progress since my last floss tube. I think I must have. I think I put in this area right here, and then I think this is the halfway point. So I want to try working in this area to like get the whole project down to the halfway, finish these first 2 pages. We'll see. I kind of got stuck here on this motif. I have a hard time with like really repetitive stitching, and this has these little birds that go all the way around the edge of that motif. So I have to get back to that and try and just push through that one. Here are the colors for this. This one is a variegated floss, but it's just very slightly variegated, which I love in variegated flosses. I think I prefer just a very subtle change in colors. It's definitely easier to chart patterns like that. It's much more difficult charting something when it has such a big variation in colors. So that is like one of the main colors for all the birds in here, and then just some DMC, a fun green, warm green, and kind of neonish colors, some bright colors in there. I'll see how far I can get on this in the next couple days, and come back for another check-in at that point. I am back. It's been about 5 days since my last update, and I am very pleased to say that I was able to complete this page on Aviary. This motif did take quite a bit of time, like I guessed it would. I think I just wasn't really getting into it, so I was having a hard time sitting for long periods of time to stitch this. But once I was able to get like to this inner border, I thought the back stitching would be a pain, but it turned out to be a really nice, I was able to like have a really nice rhythm with it. So in the end, not a terrible motif, but definitely a little bit rougher than some of the other stuff in this pattern so far. And then I moved down in the pattern and added this fun motif off to the side, those two little birds on some branches, and then started on the main tree in this pattern. And that'll extend like all the way down here. I'm still, like I said, I think this is the halfway point right here. So still got a ways to go, but I'm really happy with the progress so far on this one. I also was able to get my little, what was it? I was calling it a charm for my daughter. I was able to get that finished. This is just the design I made for it, really simple. I used that pixel art, plugged that into my pixel art program that I used, and just picked some fun colors for it. And I stitched it on this persimmon, 36 count, and that's the end result. Very simple, very fast. I still need to do the finishing on it, and I have, well, let me see. First I'll go through the colors that I use for this. It's just random. I used the zinnia for the pink. There was 744. 3857. Did I end up using that? Oh yeah, for its hat. And then this for some of the shadows, 3863 and 921. And sorry about my cats in the distance. They're making noise right now. So I made the little insert for this charm. This is just a mat board that I glued batting to both sides of it. And so when I sew this up, I'll be inserting this like inside between these two pieces and sewing up the edges. And I want to put little beads on like probably every other stitch for this charm. These are the same beads I used in the Nora Corbett mermaid that I made. So it's a really fun hot pink color. These are size, the brand says 14-15. And I'll be doing the same 744. I had to pick up a new skein so I can make some cording for the charm once it's finished, because I'm going to finish it as a scissor fob. So I have that to work on. That was one of the finishing projects I wanted to try working on next. And then the other finishing project I would like to get started on is this one. This fabric is for the Rogue. This is a pattern I finished stitching last year, designed last year. I already finished the diviner right here in this style. And so I'm going to be copying this style for my Rogue pattern. And yeah, it took me about 3 hours to do the banner design the first time around with this diviner pattern. So I'm hoping it takes a little less time now that I know what I'm doing. I have these like solids, a charm pack with solids in it. And so I use these for the little tabs at the top. I just fold this, like fold it in half and then fold it in on itself 2 times like this. So it makes like a little sandwiched piece of fabric. Do a ladder stitch there, and so that's what I use for the tabs, so I don't have to cut anything. And then yeah, I just hand sew on the backing fabric, you know, inside out, turn it out, and then get everything sewn together. I think this is probably what I want to try working on next, since I would really like to get this pattern released. I don't know what I want to be stitching on next. I might go back to Aviary. That's an option, or I might try going back to the Taurus, try and get back to Taurus. So we'll see. I'm going to work on the finishing first though, see how far I get with this today, and then hopefully I can finish this one soon too, because I'd like to just get that out of the way. I am back for my last little update in this video. I'm super excited to show off all the little things I worked on over the past week. I am very surprised by all the progress I made in both finishing and working on my Nora Corbett Taurus some more. But first, let me show you the finished Rogue banner. It turned out, very nicely, exactly as I would hope it would turn out. I just followed my directions from the first banner I made, and this time it took a little bit less time than the first, so it was only 2.5 hours, which is still a very long time. I noticed the thing that took the longest was adding in these, I think it's a whip stitch around the border. And that also happened to be the most annoying thing to do for this finishing. So I don't know if I'm going to continue adding that in future banners, but it's kind of fun to have that. But yeah, I just, like I said, used those 2 little 5-inch squares to make these little tabs. Sewed on the backing. And now it's all finished. For the whip stitch, I did use just DMC that I had. These are the colors in the project, so I use those DMC for the different decorative stitches around the border. This one is the Pirate Robin Black Dahlia. Oops, there it is. It's really pretty for that, especially for the whip stitch, because you can see that variegation changing really nicely there. So that's the Rogue banner. I still need to do the PDF for it and get the pattern released, but at least it's in this state now, and I'm one step closer to finalizing that pattern. The next little thing I worked on is my pom-pom perin charm. This was a real pain. I know what happened. I was being stubborn about it and didn't want to change course midway through. But like I did finish it, it was just a real pain to finish. The issue I had was that I made the little insert I showed you last time. There was a little mat board insert with batting on either side. That insert was just too large for this little piece. And because there's not a lot of linen here, there wasn't enough give in the linen, enough stretch to really get it stretched into place. So this is where I started, and those beads and that seam looks really nice. But then as you can continue over here, it starts to get like wider stitching because I'm stitching between the 2 sides. So I start to notice some real issues there. And then at the very end, yeah, it's kind of a mess, but you don't notice unless I point it out, at least from the front. So now it's on some fun little scissors, ready to be gifted. Really cute, fun thing. I want to make more of these because they're just really fun, and I want to make one for myself. Not this design, but I'll figure out something else to make. One thing about using these seed beads here, this is a size 14-15, and this size of bead does not fit on a size 28 needle, which is what I usually use to stitch. So I did have to use a beading needle while finishing the edge, and the only issue with that was that I kept like splitting the linen threads trying to just pick up my backstitch thread. So that was kind of annoying, and one reason why I might not do size 15 beads, although I do like how little it is, especially with such a small piece. So there's that little charm. And then the last thing I worked on is my stitching for Taurus, my Taurus conversion, and she is done. She's completely finished. Let me move this out of the way so you can see how pretty she is. I love all the beading on it. I did not expect there to be so many beads in the frame. If you look at this, like you can see it, but I just didn't notice. I just didn't notice all those beads because they kind of blend in with the thread color there in the metallic. But in its final form, in real life, probably it's not coming through as well on video either. It's very heavily beaded, my most heavily beaded piece so far. So a couple of things. I did remove the little Taurus symbol that's up there, and then I removed the word right there. I added these 2 little swirls in place of the word. just to fill that space a little better. And what else did I change? I also felt that the treasures were a little oversized for some of the spaces. I was able to fit the treasure up here in the crown, but it did take up more room than just the 2x2 square on the 40 count. I needed to, instead of, the way these treasures are is that it's a little bead and it's just one hole going down the center. So the way I attached it is coming up at the top of where the bead is supposed to be placed and going through the bead and then back down. And I did that 2 times. So instead of fitting it in that 2x2 square, I needed to bring the thread up 1 square further. So it actually spans the space of 3 squares on this 40 count. And I thought it looked good for the crown, but then when I went to go put him in here on the shoulders, let me see, I don't know if it shows up on here at all. You can kind of see the glare, the little glint of those treasures there. I just thought they were oversized and they looked kind of silly on there. So I ended up just using 4 of the little, the petites mill hills. They're same beads here and here. So I use those instead. Another thing that I noticed with my conversion is something that I would change if I was looking at this conversion now and thinking I wanted to stitch it. Something that I would change is this necklace right here. It uses the water lily, and on the cover image you see these like dark stitched areas. That's the water lily, the silk being used there, and because it's such a light skin in the model, it really contrasts well. But on here, I think it's partially because I ended up using like this section of the water lily instead of this section. It's very light and it doesn't contrast well with her skin here. So maybe replacing that with even one of these colors from the dress that's darker would make that pop a little bit more, stand out some. But I'm really pleased with the results. The only other thing I was thinking after looking at this when it's finished is it would be nice if there was a little bit more contrast between the beading. I don't know if I have those beads here. Yeah, here they are. So these beads are used for the horn decorations and also in these little swirls. And I almost wish that I used a different color for one of these. Maybe a slightly darker color in the horn or even in the background, because I have such a dark fabric, I could blend a little bit more into the background just so that the horn decorations can pop a little bit more, because in areas where the swirls come close to the horn, it's kind of hard to differentiate what is what in those spots. But I'm still like super, super happy with the results and really glad she's finished. I'm excited to take a look at the other 2 Nora Corbett's I want to do in this series and see how I want to convert those. But for now, there she is. All right, that is where I'm going to end this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.